when I ended off yesterday, I said that I wanted to discuss the other side of the coin, what I called the other side of the coin. And what I meant by that was, what does it look like when a person is meniach himself in the hands of Hashem? So first, again, I don't want to get back into yesterday's thing. Please listen to it, because this is really part 2 of that. But, right, the basic idea we said was that, what does it mean that Hashem is meniach Isai? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world in such a way that it is meant to have natural rules and principles. Those things aren't real, but they're meant to look real, and your choices are meant to feel real in order so that you feel that they are real. Therefore, if you choose to make a choice that goes against Hashem's will, or you choose to put your trust in something that is not Hashem, Hashem will cause the world to run in such a way that that comes to fruition in reality. And it will seem that Hashem is not involved in running your life. That's because you chose him not to be, and he respects your choice. What does it look like, however, if you are placing your trust in Hashem? Does that mean that everywhere you go, roses will spring up under your feet and magical things will just happen to you constantly? Right? Will your entire life look like Chanina ben Dosa? Vinegar will just light magically whenever you pass by? Well, clearly not. And by the way, obviously, Chanina ben Dosa's life also wasn't just all roses from an outsider's perspective. How do I know? Because his daughter couldn't afford to buy oil to light candles for Shabbos. Okay, right? We're talking about the archetype that we use is like, you know what it means to be the ultimate Baal Bitachon? Chanina ben Dosa told his daughter, just light the oil on fire. Who cares? Oil, vinegar, natural laws. Well, so then why didn't Chanina ben Dosa be like, yeah, sure, and snap his fingers and make gold appear? Right? Obviously, that's not. There's something we're missing in Akuda. So to me, the archetype of this has always been. I don't want to say that. Yeah, the archetypal Baal Bitachon, I think it's fair to say, is David HaMelech, whose bitachon was so intense that he was zeicha to write the sefer Tehillim. When we look at David HaMelech, we find something very interesting. David HaMelech had a, again, from an outsider perspective, chas v'shalom, this is obviously not true. David HaMelech didn't think this was true if you read Tehillim, but from an outsider perspective, David HaMelech had a terrible, terrible life. His life was filled with extreme and intense tsaros, right? He had a child who was ma'anis, another one of his children. He had a son who rebelled against him. They actually had, it seems, a very tragically difficult relationship where he loved him and his son loved him, and there was a lot of emotional issues. It was not a pashut relationship between David HaMelech and Avshalom, if you read the Mefarshim and over there. And David HaMelech was forced to go to war against his own son, who was killed in battle by his general. I mean, it was not an easy life. We know he was on the run from his father-in-law Shaul, after Shaul had promised him he would marry Michal. Michal was forcibly given to another man in marriage, while David HaMelech was made to have to bear it. Which, again, I don't know if he knew that On ben Pelas was not On ben Pelas. I'm so sorry. I forgot his name. It was a tremendous tzaddik who told his wife, if you cross this line, I'm gonna kill someone. I don't know, her, him, whatever. But David HaMelech had this really terrible, terrible. No one would ever want to live David HaMelech's life. Constant trials and tests, and it was not fun. Somebody who's a tzaddik like him, who had this ultimate incredible love of Hashem and life. Whatever his nature was, we say he had the nature of Esav. Whatever that is, we know that Midos changes a person's nature. He obviously conquered that nature and rose to the level of an unbelievable tzaddik and navi. There's no way he enjoyed killing people at that point in his life, right? Whatever his nature started off, whatever his challenges were that he had to overcome, he became a tzaddik and a balmidos. Person who's a true balmidos doesn't revel in the battle, and who live for the glory of the battlefield and the blood and guts. So, and yet he's the archetypal Baal Bitachon. How do we understand it? I really just wanted to spell out the tzir so that we understand how crazy it seems. The archetypal Baal Bitachon. I think about this a lot. Really like thinking about David HaMelech is something I just think about it a lot because it's so insane. Whenever you think about bitachon, it's like David HaMelech, the ultimate Baal bitachon, had such a again from an outsider's viewpoint of without understanding, such a terrible life. So I think what it shows is that we have to understand that bitachon, in its most sort of pure form, just as a philosophy, just as an idea, without thinking about how it could actively impact our life, but just as a passive idea, the sort of pure, true bitachon, is not what we think it is. So to maybe get a tiny bit of understanding, and I don't want to make this video long, which I always say that, but I might, again, subdivide this. Let's look at the Orchos Tzadikim for 1 second. I love cross-referencing because the Orchos Tzadikim, I don't think they're arguing when they're talking about the basic idea of bitachon, and he talks about bitachon also at length. So the Orchos Tzadikim says this fascinating idea. He says, Im achar she'adam oiseh tshuva. Let's say a person does tshuva, and by the way, he's talking here specifically about the mitzvah. This is the context. He's talking about the mitzvah of bitachon. So what did you do tshuva on? You did tshuva on not fulfilling the mitzvah of having bitachon. He holds that bitachon is a mitzvah saseh, which is, we said this before, tali in the mitzvah of yatzdik kol ma'irosov, right? As it says, v'yadat melvavcha ki kasher yaser ishas b'nai Hashem lekechem yasreka. He says, let's say you come to the realization that you've been living your life without bitachon, right? I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. And even if not, the point is that you come to a point where you, again, whatever tshuva he's talking about, it's in the context of you're now gaining in bitachon and understanding that Hashem controls the world and controls your life, and you have to leave him in charge. And he says, you know what happens? You know what's going to happen? Let's say a person did tshuva, and I think I might have been wrong. Could be he's not talking about doing tshuva in this specific mitzvah. But again, I don't want to like get bogged up in that. It could be I'm wrong. That's what I thought he meant, but it doesn't matter. Say a guy does tshuva stam, and you know what happens? Things get worse. His life gets worse. Mitzvah sheyachshav b'libo ki l'toivasay pachinyanei l'ra. It's a mitzvah to think that, you know why things got worse? It's for my good. Ki koydem she'asa adam tshuva hayakadosh baruch hu mishalim lo Shaar hamitzvos she'asa kedei l'tardem elam haba. You know what Hashem was doing? Hashem was trying to chas v'shalom, like, get rid of you, but Hashem was like, okay, this person is not going to have a place in Olam Haba that's close to me. Olam Haba, we know what Olam Haba really is, not like a garden of delights. Olam Haba is like the closer more you perfected yourself in this world, the closer you're able to be to Hashem, because the more like Hashem you are, whatever that means. So it's far too beyond the scope of this video to go into Olam Haba and what that means, even though the Svarim discuss it, and I think we could have some accurate idea to some extent. But it's not for this video. But the point is, on the most shallow level, the more you perfect yourself, the more like Hashem you make yourself, the more you will be able to be nene from Hashem, which is the ultimate hana. The ultimate hana is enjoying the feeling of being like Hashem, the closeness of being close to Hashem in a manner of being like Him. Whatever, again, leave it. But you know what Hashem was doing? Hashem was repaying you for whatever good you had, because I don't know, either because Hashem wanted to get rid of you, or because your schusim that you have can't get you to what you should be getting in theory in the next world, because you simply can't be that close to Hashem because of your other bad midos. I'm not sure, but whatever the case, Hashem is trying to pay you off in this world. Shenamar Mashal Misanav Alpanav Lavido Ukederach Shuais Lasainov. That's what Hashem does. So now he flipped the script. Oh, you did tshuva. Oh, you're a good person now. So now Hashem says, oh, so now I'm gonna make sure things are bad. Kadesha you zakin kiyim olam haba. You're gonna come to olam haba fresh, clean like a baby, beautiful. And this, no, somehow is totally in the midas simcha, which he said is really bitachon. This is totally in understanding. Hashem, I am totally in your hand. Do what you will. You're in charge. So, what if we would look at the idea of bitachon? I'm just saying in a vacuum as like, oh, bitachon means I never have to fear of anything bad again. Nothing bad will ever happen. Well, that would be totally incompatible with what the Orchos Tzaddikim says, and that's really what I want to focus on right now. Just think about this, and I think we're going to stop here, and I'll elaborate tomorrow. But think about how what that idea would be completely incompatible with this Orchos Tzaddikim, because the Orchos Tzaddikim is saying very clearly that when you do tshuva, things that are bad will happen to you. And you know what your response to that is? Your response to that should be, Baruch Hashem. I see that I'm getting paid for my averos in this world. Yes, awesome. So that in the next world, I will come clean of chet. So if somebody were to say to you, you know what, you should have bitachon, so you don't have to fear of anything negative. Nothing negative will be scary. Why? Because you're protected. What? What about this paragraph in the Orchos Tzaddikim? If nothing negative happens to me, how will I be cleansed and be able to enter the next world and clean of chet? Unless maybe you don't have chet. But theoretically, you should be thinking to yourself, I have bitachon, I trust Hashem totally, just like Hashem Yaser Ishes Benai Hashem Lekachi Yasreko. Hashem, I know you only want my best and you're going to do what's best for me. And guess what, says the Orchos Tzaddikim? You're going to have bad stuff happen to you. What do you mean bad stuff happened to me? I'm Baal Bitachon now. I thought nothing bad is going to happen. So clearly, we have to think of Bitachon, right? And so you'll say, okay, Laser, what does this have to do with being Maniach Isai Biyad Hashem? What does it have to do with that specifically? Okay, we ran out of time. I will elaborate next time. But just to put the idea in your head, have the question that it cannot be that being a Baal Bitachon means I don't have to fear. That, by the way, it's true that we have to resolve that with what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Mishmura la'yirei nachan li b'betuach b'Hashem, quotes the pasuk in regards to Hillel HaZaken. There is such a concept, so what does that mean? But again, that clear, whatever we would think that mean, we have to understand that clearly it can't mean that literally nothing negative ever happens. His daughter couldn't afford vinegar. It doesn't sound oil. It doesn't sound like they were living in this hunky-dory like luxury lifestyle. And yet, when he needed it, he was able to like bust out the packet pitachon, like, oh yeah, no problem, just light the vinegar. But not, oh yeah, no problem, here's a pot of gold, right? So there's something going on here. Mishmura la'yir nachal b'betuach b'Hashem, but it has to be compatible with this idea of the true Baal Bitachon accepts b'simcha the knowledge that things are not going to be good for him in this world, to an extent, because he has to be naki from chet. And maybe you'll say, oh, so maybe those people are naki from chet. I mean, I don't know. I don't think David HaMelech was an exceptional sinner, and he had an exceptionally tragic life. You know, but to even think about it, but like theoretically, he would be like the ultimate tragic hero in some like series of fantasy novels, right? Just after event after event after event, right? So, what's going on? We have to think about it. What's going on? What does that mean to be Baal Bitachon, and yet to accept this knowledge that as the Baal Bitachon, I should expect and accept with love, kasher yaser ishes benai Hashem lekach yasreko, that things are going to be bad for me. There's going to be negative, and that's great. Why not instead say, oh, well, as the Baal Bitachon, I have a tranquil heart because nothing bad's going to happen. So, what's going on? And what does it mean to be meniach isai biyad Hashem and to have true menuchas nefesh? We will resolve that in part 3.